going through a massive breakup.
I had a surgery on my voice.
One of the most transformative periods of my life.
Which makes sense that I would make a record that was very hard and tough.
I've always been someone that's had a really strong sense of self. Even when I was little, I didn't have any ground to stand on, and I was just like the one.
When you're younger, I feel like it's easier just to try things or like go out of your comfort zone because you just have less fear.
That's something you can't take away. Swinging around naked on a wrecking ball lives forever.
Miley Cyrus was never just a Disney kid. Long before she twerked at the VMAs or sang about wrecking balls, she was Destiny Hope.
Sing it, Mal.
A smiling Southern girl, born into country royalty, raised on dreams and Dolly Parton lullabies. From Smiley to Miley, her life has been a series of transformations, some shocking, some vulnerable, all unapologetically real.
Everybody's looking at me. To the club in the taxi cab. Everybody looking at me now.
I don't want to now reverse and get in and then everyone see me get in the car. That wasn't the point. The point was to show up in the car. This looks lame. Stop backing me the up. This looks lame.
The only person that wants me to shut up more than you guys is my own self.
This is the story of reinvention, rebellion, resilience, and a voice that never stopped evolving. Miley Cyrus was born Destiny Hope Cyrus in Franklin, Tennessee in 1992. Her name was a prophecy. Her parents believed she was destined for greatness. They weren't wrong. She grew up on a 500-acre farm outside Nashville, the daughter of country singer Billy Ray Cyrus and Tish Finley. Her childhood wasn't entirely ordinary. Her godmother? None other than Dolly Parton. By age 13, Miley was in Los Angeles, auditioning for the Disney Channel's next big idea, a double-life pop star sitcom called Hannah Montana.
We all gotta do it, so we might as well have fun. How about we all jump out of bed on Monday and say, yeah, let me hear you say it. Yeah!
She wasn't even supposed to get the role. They said she was too young, too small. But then she sang. Miley Cyrus became a household name.
The concept of the show is that when I would alter my image and I would put on a wig and I would, put on sparkly things, that I held a new value.
She's really good. Right beforehand, I was like shaking.
There was, the way that kids would react at these like Hannah shows versus when I was myself and I would meet fans out. It was different.
I didn't grow up idolizing Miley Cyrus. If anything, I watched her rise from a distance. A Disney creation turned headline magnet and thought I had her figured out. But over the years, something shifted. Not just in her, but in all of us. Somehow she became the mirror for our chaotic coming of age story. A pop star who refused to be polished. A teen queen who cracked her own crown just to rebuild it in her image. This is the story of Miley Cyrus. Not just a pop star, but the cultural force who made reinvention in an art form. The Madonna of her generation. The rebel child of Disney.
I'm not gonna do Hannah Montana, but I can give you an update on what she's been up to. She was murdered.
The voice behind a nation's celebration song, and the woman who taught us it's okay to outgrow who we used to be. Hannah Montana premiered in 2006. It was an instant phenomenon. Miley was catapulted into fame with a kind of force that very few child stars survive, but there was always a tension. On the surface, she was America's sweetheart, singing bubblegum anthems and starring in Disney movies. Behind the scenes, she was a teenager living two lives. One on camera, one behind closed doors. In 2008, when risque photos leaked and her Vanity Fair shoot caused public outcry, the world saw the first cracks in her Disney facade. Miley wasn't just growing up, she was also pushing back.
There was never this strategic sit down like, how are we gonna make her grow up? That was just me with a wig on. It was all my morals, all my song, like all my inspiration. I was the one telling girls to go live their dream, not Hannah Montana.
By 2009, something cracked. She ditched the sugary sound and released The Climb, a power ballad that felt like her first true statement. This girl wasn't content with being America's sweetheart anymore.
I'll just sing this next one. This one's called I Can't Be Tamed. Can get a bit crazy, have to get my way, yeah. 24.
By 2010, she was done being tamed. Her album Can't Be Tamed was electro-pop defiance. Tracks like Liberty Walk and Robot were more than songs. They were mile markers in her evolution. She wasn't Hannah anymore, and she didn't want to be. Yet even in rebellion, Miley showed layers. Forgiveness and love reflected someone grappling with emotion, not just image. She was becoming herself in real time, under a global spotlight.
Had you fallen in love with hip hop? Like what?
Yes, because all my friends, that's all we listened to. Because it was, if you guys just go back into 2011, 2012, 2013,
yes,
that was rock and roll. Like,
But it was really hard for me in 2013, and I lost everything during that time in my personal life because of the choices I was making professionally. You know, if I kept dressing or acting a certain way.
Like Bangers and the Bombshell. In 2013, the Disney dream died, and Miley buried it herself. Bangers wasn't just an album, it was a cultural explosion. With tracks like We Can't Stop and Wrecking Ball, she demolished her previous image.
like hip hop, like rock and roll is, it's like pop. It's not a genre. It's like it's a statement. And like pop is just pop culture. It's just like that's what's popular. And rock and roll, that's like something, that's why it's soul music. It's like it's something in your soul. And so for me, hip hop at the time was like my soul. That was the concerts that I was sneaking out to go to. That was the thing that my parents, the CDs my parents wouldn't let me listen to. You know, that's what rock and roll is. So to me, that was just an extension of, like, for me, 11, 12, 13, that's like the way my mom talks about the 80s, like sneaking out of her windows to go see Whitesnake. That was me, but with Juicy J.
Her 2013 VMAs performance with Robin Thicke, instant infamy. But what people missed was the intention. This was liberation in real time. Miley wasn't spiraling, she was evolving. Critics called it attention-seeking, but history now calls it iconic. Rolling Stone ranked this album among the 250 greatest albums of the 21st century. Billboard saw it as a blueprint for the future of pop, and Vice said it best. Miley was spinning circles around every single pop star trying to be edgy. She wasn't chasing rebellion, she was a rebellion. Some said she lost it. Others said she was finally free. Her collaborations with Pharrell, Future, and Britney Spears blurred genre lines. Hip-hop, EDM, pop, all wrapped in rebellion. Wrecking Ball wasn't just a meme, it was heartbreak laid bare. In Bangers, it was both scandal and spectacle.
My relationships fell apart. No one wanted to date me because they didn't want to be with a woman. That sexual expression part was not for them.
But it was also art, crafted with precision and audacity. Behind the controversy was a young woman reclaiming her narrative.
My shirt is my dog who died, who is like my most important thing in like my life.
On my last tour I was on, I had lost my dog Floyd, who was my best fucking friend. In the middle of doing what I love, I lost what I love.
Just when critics thought they had her figured out, she flipped the script again. Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets. Self-release, experimental, and raw. 23 tracks of psychedelia, grief, drug haze, and emotional transparency. Songs like the Floyd song, mourn the death of her dog. Twinkle song asked, what does it all mean?
I was making my new album, and I was like, I do not want to charge for my album. I just want it to be free, and I don't want people to have to pay for it. And I don't want to have to promote it on the radio, and I don't want the radio to have to play it. And I was like, oh yeah, I actually have that choice. That's the point of being an artist.
It wasn't radio ready, and it wasn't supposed to be. Dead Pets was her diary, chaotic, uncensored, painfully honest. This wasn't about fame anymore, it was about feeling. What makes Miley so fascinating isn't just her reinventions, it's her refusal to stay in one box. In the years that followed, she dabbled in psychedelia with the Flaming Lips, returned to her country roots, and even dipped into rock with Plastic Hearts. She became, as the media lovingly dubbed her, the pop chameleon. But beyond genre hopping, she was becoming something deeper, a voice for identity, fluidity, and freedom.
These motherfuckers
She spoke openly about her queerness. Her foundation helped LGBTQ+ youth, and Billboard named her a queer superhero. Not because she was perfect, but because she was unapologetically human. They say pop stars are products. They're marketed, molded, and monetized. But Miley rejected that mold and still became one of the most talked about artists of our time. She wasn't afraid to be messy. She didn't always get it right, but that honesty, that's what kept people watching. Her album Younger Now was a clean slate. Country roots, acoustic vulnerability, and Dolly Parton duets. It wasn't loud, it wasn't scandalous, but it was honest. And even honesty can't prevent heartbreak. The couple divorced in 2019 and Miley found herself alone again, different this time, stronger, and came out on the other side blooming. Then came Malibu, a song written in the back of an Uber, a return to sunshine and simplicity.
All right, here's Malibu.
I never came to the beach or stood by the ocean.
So the first line says, I never came to the beach or stood by the ocean. I never sat by the shore under the sun with my feet in the sand, but you brought me here. That for me, this is paradise, and to remember how lucky I am, because I feel like even though I'm working here, I may be writing music, this is my studio, this is my rainbow layer. My granddad said, you won't work a day in your life if you're having fun. Life had gotten really hard for me,
Like my house burning down.
so I made plastic hearts.
One thing that I gained through all the loss is an idea that what I do is for me.
Her voice, gravelly from vocal cord surgery, fit the new era perfectly. Songs like Midnight Sky and Angels Like You weren't just rock tributes, they were confessions. This was Miley Cyrus, glam, gritty, and grounded. When the flames took her home in Malibu, Miley Cyrus didn't cry. She stood in the ashes and found peace. For most of us, fame is a dream. For Miley Cyrus, it was an inheritance and a burden. From the Disney machine to her wild rebellion, Miley was never allowed to just be. But Plastic Hearts was different. This was Miley becoming. Every night before I go to sleep, I say goodbye to myself, she said in an interview with Apple Music's Zane Lowe. Imagine shedding a layer of yourself every night. Not because you want to, but because the world demands a new version of you every morning. That's what Miley lived through. She once said, I'm not the person I was yesterday. And when you've lived 1,000 lives by the age of 30, what's left to protect but your own energy? The fire should have destroyed everything, but one thing survived, her studio console. As if the universe said, your story's not over yet. Miley said, part of you wants to start digging through the ashes, and part of you builds the walls again. That's exactly what she did. And in 2023, after years of reinventions, she dropped Flowers. It was her biggest hit ever. An anthem of self-love and quiet power. No spectacle, no foam finger, just a woman who had survived herself. And like all things, that made her feel safe. Miley had to let go. With Never Be Me, Miley captured something she calls temptation, and a little part of evil. But it wasn't shame, it was truth. Writing that song was a sacrifice, she said, because sometimes telling the truth hurts.
I'm gonna stand out no matter what, so I've just embraced it.
She gave us pop anthems, national moments, and virality before virality even had a name. But she worried, would the world ever accept her now? It's life and death at the same time, because once the music leaves her hands, it's no longer hers, it's ours. Closing shot.
Then there was a time that I think all of us go through where we start to question, you know, that kind of little child version of ourselves that's still really curious and again, kind of like oddly confident and doesn't think, you know, double question themselves. And I think the Grammys just really gave me, again, that kind of green light to go, you did it. The thing that you set your heart out for, you've done it. You couldn't have done more.
Miley Cyrus, something beautiful. The last 20 years of my career felt like white noise. Every time I stepped on stage, I was triggered that this chaos, this noise, was all that it is. Miley Cyrus standing in the Village recording studio, an old Masonic temple turned sanctuary of sound. She speaks about this album with Apple Music's Zane Lowe. This is not the girl who once swung from wrecking balls. This isn't even the woman who gave us Flowers. This is Miley now, stripped back, unguarded, and whole. But to understand who she is now, the woman behind the Something Beautiful album, we need to step back. Not to Hannah Montana, not to bangers, but to something deeper. We need to talk about the noise. Imagine living your life at full volume, for 2 decades. Every version of yourself broadcasted, dissected, memed, and misunderstood. Miley described her past like a sonic collage. Every era, every album, every outfit, bleeding into the next, reacting to the one before it. She says, I needed to extract each one and look at them as individual identities. Only by isolating each frequency could she find herself again. And at the present moment, not the rebellious teen that she once was. She just wants to be Miley. And it all started with a vacation. The Endless Summer Vacation album was never about sipping cocktails on a beach. It was survival, a quiet protest.
Like, you know, everything I wanted to achieve, I've gone really beyond that. And I think now when you think of an achievement, it can kind of feel like a list of tasks, which is not the world of art.
Yes.
You know, it's a world of, you know, that seems like a to-dos or to-gets. And I've always been more kind of focused on to be and like, who do I want to be?
A signal to herself that she was still alive underneath the expectations, the branding, and the noise. She tells us, I wasn't really on vacation. I was moving into this world of something beautiful, because what she found through love, nature, stillness, wasn't exactly peace. It was presence. She was beginning to hear herself again. And then came flowers, the moment that would validate her, not just to the world, but to that younger version of herself. The teenager who signed her life away at 16, who learned early that public adoration didn't mean personal safety. She needed a trophy. She says, I needed to hold something in my hands that felt like a true achievement. And so the Grammy came. Proof that the fight to stay true to herself was worth it.
Seen and express, and what do I want? When I walk in a room, what do I want someone to, you know, feel when they see me? And right now I have people that come up and just say, you know, we feel like we know you even though we don't, or I feel like from watching you, you're like a friend. And there's also a level of respect.
Miley says, I started doing shows at the Chateau Marmont, intimate, hand-chosen, to celebrate the nomination quietly. It wasn't fear holding her back, it was fragility. When she finally did let go and it led to her Grammy win, the moment wasn't loud, it was still. That stillness, that permission to just be, gave her the courage to create again. And not just create anything, but to create something beautiful. If Flowers was healing, something beautiful was rebirth. It's an opus, a collage of eras, influences, and emotion. Pop, yes, but not in the way that we use the word. Because to Miley, pop isn't a genre, it's a culture. She draws her lineage not just from Madonna, but from Prince. She praises Beyonce and Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter, not as competition, but as collaborators in this chaotic creative universe. Miley says pop gets a bad name, like it's manufactured, but that's just lazy thinking. There's nothing manufactured here. Even when she opened social media during this new era, she felt it immediately, that disconnect.
Something Beautiful is a love song, all of the songs, because there's really only one song. This whole body of work is only one song. Something Beautiful is a love song dedicated to life, to death, to nature, to humanity, to mystery, to God, to everyone I know, to everyone I'll never know, to what I understand and what I could never fathom.
The question always comes up, will she tour? And the answer is layered. It's not just about the cost or the scale, or even her rare vocal condition, a polyp on her chords that gives her voice its signature grit, but makes live performance grueling. It's about self-preservation. Touring doesn't make sense unless it's sustainable. She rehearses her tours in her mind and imagines cathedrals and forests, singing under stars instead of stadium lights. But there's one simple truth. She dreams of doing it differently. She calls the concept Somewhere Beautiful, an intimate performance series in spaces full of magic, pyramids, chapels, and forests. But for now, there's the film, the album, and most importantly, the art. Because Miley isn't chasing attention anymore. She's cultivating intention.
It's a concept album that's an attempt to medicate a sick culture through music, hiding the healing in an entertaining work of art, bringing the divine into the day-to-day. A theme of the film is white noise, which is every frequency played at the same time, which is essentially our own existence.
In the heart of Something Beautiful lies the most sacred thing Miley Cyrus has ever found, safety. We think of voices as limitless, but for Miley, there's a limit. She suffers from a rare condition caused by a polyp in her vocal cords. It gives her a signature grit in her voice, but also punches the opposite chord every time she sings. She calls it a blessing and a burden. It's like running a marathon with ankle weights. And here's the heartbreak. Surgery could fix it, but it might also erase the very tone that makes her who she is. So she protects it like gold. That's why she hasn't toured in over a decade. That's why 5 shows a week would break her, not just physically, emotionally, but also spiritually. That's why she says, this isn't about avoiding connection. It's about preserving what I have left. Something Beautiful is more than an album. It's a love song. To life, to death, to nature, to humanity, to mystery, to God, to everyone I know and everyone I'll ever know. She calls it a concept album, meant to medicate a sick culture. And then she says the one thing that says everything. I've really put myself back together. Miley Cyrus isn't reinventing herself anymore. She's revealing herself. No more white noise, no more fragments, no more explaining, just one frequency, just something beautiful.